Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And we're back for FPL Game Week 36. First, I just want to say thank you because our FPL Game Week 35 video literally did the best out of like any FPL video that I've ever put out, which is super, super cool and exciting. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you enjoyed that video, you're in luck because we have more of the same. So I'm joined as always by Yelena. Yelena, thanks so much for joining. Lots to talk about. How's it going?
It's good. I think this is probably the most stressful game week so far. I have no idea what to do with my team, and I've changed it 1,000,001 times. So I'm glad we're having a debrief and can try and sort it out.
It's like it's like a therapy session of it, like thinking what to do with our teams as well. I'm embarrassed, like how much time I have actually spent plotting and like looking at different potential points and like doing it for each of the potential buys that I'm going to do in over 3 weeks. And I've spent way too many hours actually doing that. It's quite sad at this point. And I'm just like, whatever I choose, I feel like it's going to go the opposite way. So I don't know why I'm investing so much of my time in this. But there's
I keep on thinking I have a gut feeling, and then I have a gut feeling about someone else. I just can't follow my gut because I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah, like I have 2 gut feelings and they're contradictory. So what do I do? Yeah, cool. So guys, we're going to get into this stream. So what can you expect? We're going to go through our game week 35 teams and kind of think everybody had a pretty crappy game week. Then go into players that we're looking to buy, sell, a lot of debate about the Brighton assets that you should have, the Newcastle assets that you should have for double game week 36, captaincy option as well, and then kind of like our team selection, where we're going to be going with this. So I feel like it's going to be like a little bit of a longer one, but let's just like get right into it. Super excited. So how do I do this? Okay, I think oh my god, wait, I'm
spoilers.
Spoilers. Oh shit. Okay, sorry. I thought it was on the right slide. Sorry. Okay, well, that's okay. So this was my game week 35 team. I got 41 points. The average was 39, so really nothing to write home about. I didn't take any hits, so I was happy with that. Obviously, I had Kepa in goal, just like the choice of Kepa or Raya. So I went with Kepa. I think it was about the same points. Then, of course, like the killer for me was having, and I'm pretty sure this is in the same game week now because I think it feels like so long ago that Shaw's clean sheet was wiped out from McAllister. Yeah. And I was like, I don't own him. I own March, and he went off injured, and then my clean sheet got wiped out as well. And so realistically, just a really poor game week overall. I wish I had the guts. We were talking last week about like, oh, should we go against Haaland? Like, I don't know if I have the guts to do it. And it would have paid off, like, given he should have had a couple of opportunities versus Leeds. But yeah, so this was basically my team. I think I had a very, 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 very small green arrow. But really not great. But I feel like a lot of people are kind of in the same boat. But Yelena, what about you? This was your team.
I think we ended up on the same points. I think I had 41 as well. I just got really lucky with the McAllister goal. I think that was the sneakiest goal I've ever seen. But the team overall, Dunk was really so disappointing. Brighton defence scares me now. I was lucky that Liverpool kept the clean sheets, and then obviously having Salah. But the rest of the team, like you said, we really should have taken the risk and captained someone else that wasn't Haaland. But it happens, and it's a very rare blank. So hopefully we can rely on him in future game weeks. But it's annoying. I think I probably wouldn't have captained Haaland anyway, Salah anyway. I probably would have gone Isak. So I'm not beating myself up too much about it. But at the end of the City game, I was so disappointed.
I was like, how is this possible? And then for Gundogan to take the penalty, I was like, gosh darn it. Just like a lot of unfortunate things. But I think for the most part, everybody is like in the same boat because I think everybody's capped talent at this point. So it doesn't sting so much. So that brings us to our buys. And so this one is for me. And last week I said Isak. And I said Isak / Callum Wilson. And I don't know why my gut is telling me go Callum Wilson over Isak. He's much more of a minute's risk. I don't know if he starts both of Newcastle's double game weeks. My gut is probably telling me that he starts one and is benched on one and then comes off of the bench. But if we look at his underlying stats, they're a bit stronger than Isak's. So he has 5 goals, no assists, but expected goals of 3.16. Only started 2 of the last 5 games, but came off the bench and scored as well. And then shots on target 7. So he's getting at least 1 shot on target per game. And the predicted points that I looked up like in the calculator, I think I used FPL Hound or something like that for this, was 11.3 for over this game week. So I don't know, it's looking really positive. And then I'm kind of thinking like about the fixtures. And wait, oh shit, I think my fixtures are wrong. Oh no, they're right. Okay. Okay. So I was like, wait, are they playing Arsenal? No. Looking at the fixtures, Leeds away going to be a difficult fixture because obviously Leeds are trying to stay up. Ellen Road is incredibly hard to play at, but I just feel like there's a point. Like you said, Yelena, like the Brighton defense is looking a bit shaky recently, so I feel like they could maybe get something from that as well. Then game week 37, Leicester again, kind of one of those difficult games against a relegation side, but their defense has been all over the place. So I just think like since I have basically nothing to lose because my rank is so bad, like if he does well and he's so much less owned than Isak, maybe this makes sense as a bit of a risk at this point in the season. What do you think?
It's definitely worth going for. I'm annoyed that you've said you have a gut instinct about Wilson because so do I. And I don't have him in my team. I think this is probably going to be the real divider. Unless people go for Isak and Wilson, I think this could give people such an edge. I think he's a great pick, to be honest. If I didn't already have Isak, I'd 100% bring him in, but I can't work out a way to get him into my team without ruining everything else. So I think it's definitely the way to go, and the double game week as well. I think the one issue is his minutes, but Wilson's the kind of player that can come on and he'll play for 20 minutes and score 2 goals or get a goal and assist. So I think it's so worth the risk. And like you said, if you don't feel as though you've got anything to lose, just go for it.
Yeah, I think like if I were playing more of a defensive game, then maybe I would go a bit safer. And if I were trying to protect my rank, I would go Isak. But I'm not. Like I'm just trying to go for it at this point. So you validated my feelings, which I really like because I think I'm just gonna go do it after the stream.
Do
it. So what about you? You have like a really, really interesting differential buy pick.
Yeah, so this is I have gone on for ages about wanting to stay in the top 100k. Now I'm in it, I'm like, just take some risks and hopefully they'll pay off. So as you can see, he's only owned by 1.6%. And that's what is really pushing me to get him. He's had 2 goals and 2 assists since game week 29. I think he's a really versatile player. He can play anywhere in the front 4. And then the fact that they've got 2 double game weeks in a row, for me, it's a no-brainer. But the lack of people saying to buy him makes me quite nervous that I'm on the wrong page. But ideally he'll play as a striker. But I don't know. This is my gut feeling. I just feel as though he is going to absolutely shine over the next 2 game weeks, or I'm hoping he does. So this is where I'm going to take a bit of a risk and just try and have a bit more fun with the game.
Yeah, but I think it's a great shout because honestly, he's been on my radar for a couple of weeks as well. But I always had my 3 Brighton assets tied up into midfielders and a defender. But if you don't have it tied up or you're looking for a super differential Brighton pick, he could be a really good shout. And now that Solly March is, I'm almost 100% sure, like at the time of recording this, like out injured at least for the next couple of weeks. I don't see him coming back at least until 38. We're still waiting on kind of news for that, but it looks like he tore his hammy or something. So I think like he could, even the minutes might not even be like as risky. As something that I was thinking about, like trying to get into my team as well. Which kind of brings me seamlessly. Oh, I put your cell before my cell. Oh no, I didn't. Okay, I'm messing up the order so badly.
It's the stress of the
God.
your game week. Honestly, it's such a bad week.
How is it possible to mess up the presentation so bad? Okay, it's fine. That brings us to my cell, which is pretty obvious. But I feel like everybody's teams were so similar that this was kind of like in your face, but it's a conversation that I think is really worth having. And I think it's a situation that a lot of managers find themselves in, including myself. So I own Solly March. I was absolutely gutted because I think out of all of Brighton's attackers or midfielders, if you will, he has like the best underlying stats. But then he's gotten injured, of course. And so now I need to transfer him out of my team. And I think for people who already own McAllister, it's a bit of an easier jump to just say, okay, I'm going to go March to Matoma. Like that's much more straightforward. But going March to McAllister with McAllister playing in that deeper role as a 6, maybe he gets up forward if Brighton are really going for the game. He's on some corners, he's on some set pieces, he's on pens. Is it worth going for? Or do you do what you're thinking of and kind of bring in like an Enciso? So this is kind of the struggle that I'm at. I kind of have my mind made up about it, but what are your thoughts about this whole kind of like Solly March conundrum?
It's really hard. So I brought in McAllister over March when I did my wild card, and I thought that was not going to pay off. I thought March was going to be absolutely fantastic. I managed to get away with it, and now this injury has kind of reassured me I made the right decision. But I think if I didn't have McAllister, I'd be really tempted to go a bit rogue, sell March, and maybe bring in an Arsenal asset, which I know isn't chasing the double game weeks, but I think it's something, because I think the logical step is March to Matoma or maybe March to McAllister. But I think I'd probably use this opportunity to bring in someone a little bit more rogue. But I say that because I'm in the comfortable position of having McAllister and Matoma, so I don't know if I would actually be brave enough to do it. But I think it could be a time to have a bit more fun with the midfield.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask for your thoughts like on my game week when we go through it, because it's something that I'm contemplating. And like one of like the 4 scenarios that I've mapped out of what I might potentially do. So your cell is also a Brighton asset. Lewis Dunk, defender, obviously got you the -1. So talk us through this one.
So I am kind of apprehensive about this because obviously they've got the 2 double game weeks coming up, and he does have attacking threat. And statistically, Brighton's defence is quite solid. I think City, Villa, and United have performed better for expected goals conceded over the past 6 game weeks. So Brighton aren't horrendous, but I'm very, very conscious of the fact that Brighton have only kept 2 clean sheets away from home all season. And obviously the double is Arsenal, Newcastle, not easy fixtures, away from home. And after getting a -1 last week, I think I just need to get rid of him. So it could be one of those really annoying FPL weeks where loads of people bench Dunk or sell him like I'm planning to do, and then he actually ends up returning. But I don't see it happening. And I think Arsenal have got so much to play for. And seeing Brighton also last week against Everton, that was terrible, losing 5-1. It's just I didn't see it coming. And Brighton, obviously, I don't know, they were having a massively off day. So they've got a lot to prove in the next 2 game weeks, but I just don't see them keeping clean sheets for either.
That's the thing, and you look at Arsenal away, Newcastle away, Man City away in the next like 3 games, and I always feel like there's a little bit of hype on a double game week, and I try not to get like too sucked into it because do I realistically expect them to keep a clean sheet versus Arsenal? Probably not. Versus Newcastle, probably not. So I'm even considering benching Estupinian as well. And I'm kind of like, why do I even have him in my team at this point? So it's such a conundrum in terms of like which players you bring in and which players you play. So that kind of brings me to my team. So this isn't currently set up. This is what I'm thinking about doing. So currently I have Marchin for McAllister and I have Ollie Watkins instead of Callum Wilson. So I've had a massive play around with my team. And the idea would be that I start Kepa, Trent, Trippier, Estupinian, or Shaw, Martinelli, McAllister, McTominay, Rashford, Salah, Wilson, Holland. I haven't made these transfers yet. This is what I'm thinking about. The other thing I was thinking was, I have 2 free transfers, by the way. Do I go double Newcastle attack? Do I leave March on the bench injured and do Wilson and I can't leave March on the bench, but do I do like an Odegaard, Wilson, and in Ciso? That was also kind of in my option as well.
That's so tempting.
Right? I already have Martinelli, so I already do have an Arsenal asset that I think a lot of people have offloaded a lot of their Arsenal assets. So I already do have the one. But I was thinking, do I do that instead? So right now I'm kind of leaning towards just using the 2 frees and doing March to McAllister, which is kind of safe-ish, and then doing Watkins to Wilson, which is a bit more risky. But I'm also thinking, like, do I just go completely rogue? But I don't know if it will pay off. What do you think? What do you think? What would you do if you were me?
I really like this team because you've already got Martinelli. So that would be the only thing I'd say you can go wild, but you already have your asset. And then I think Wilson is a risk. McAllister's a safer bet. So actually, you've got a really nice balance in the team. The other crazy one throwing out like Enciso and things, that is so much fun, but I would not have the guts to do it. And I don't know whether that's too much of a risk. I feel like this is a really solid team, and like it's Martinelli that's selling me. I think it's absolutely great, to be honest. So I reckon you should go with this for your transfer options, and maybe wait for early team news tomorrow on Wilson, because that could sway you one way or the other.
Yeah, that's what I always get like so nervous that I'm gonna miss it or something. So I always tend to make my transfers at least by Friday. But I think I'm just gonna hold off just, to see if we get any early team news. And then the only other thing that I have to think about is, do I play Shaw or Stupinian? The only thing that's like potentially swaying me is that I think Estupinian could get attacking returns.
Yeah.
Even if Brighton don't keep a clean sheet. So I'm leaning towards him, but not for a clean sheet, because I do think that Arsenal and Newcastle are both going to concede.
Yeah, Dunk definitely has the Estupinian definitely has the edge, because that's one of the reasons I got rid of Dunk. I just don't see the attacking threat. That it's a potential, whereas you've got much more likelihood of him maybe getting an assist or something, or even picking up some bonus points. So it's tough. I mean, it's really hard because Shaw is also so good, but it's the double, I think, that's swaying me more towards keeping your Brighton defender.
Damn. And then we have like the game week 37, which is a whole nother issue with like bringing in United and City assets. And I'm like, do I bring Ederson in? But that was Yelena's sell last week.
Honestly, that man is haunting me. I really want to bring in De Gea, but at the moment it looks like I'm going to have to take a hit next week. So I'm giving Ederson one more chance this week, and then if he manages to keep a clean sheet, it might put me in a false sense of security, and I'll keep hold of him for the double next week. But I don't know.
I honestly don't know what to do with that, but let's get into your team. So talk us through the transfers that you're making this week.
I'm the same as you. I haven't made any transfers yet because I'm too nervous. But I am taking out Dunk and bringing in Shaw. I feel much more confident about United's fixtures, and they've got the double next week. So I don't feel as though it's a massive loss. I know I'm missing out on the double game week this week, but I'm going to make up for that by bringing in Enciso and pray that he gets some sort of return. And then my bench will be Nico, Gahey, and Grealish. I'm quite nervous, and then obviously I'll be playing Edison for one last time. I'm quite nervous about benching Grealish, but I'm thinking he's going to be a minute's risk, and I'm hoping he just remains benched for the entire game or comes on late but doesn't really contribute anything, because that's one that he has the potential. When I brought him into my team, he was looking so good and really on the ball. Whereas now I'm not seeing that as much. And obviously he was benched last game week. He's absolutely knackered. Like, I don't know. So that's the plan going forward. If you have any suggestions, let me know, because I'm not 100% set.
I really like your team, and like I wish that I had the guts to go for Enciso. But I think like with my risky team already, I feel like you kind of go like Wilson or Enciso. But I really like your team. Like I think that it's super well balanced. I wish that I had Ederson in goal actually, because I don't know. I just feel like I would be so shocked if he's rested yet again, and then if he is, you just have your second come off the bench. But I really like your team. I think that I would go for it. Personally, yeah.
Well, one of my other ideas was to keep hold of Dunk and do Watkins to Mitrovic, because he's back after the ban now. And I feel as though Mitrovic, his ownership is going to be so low, like especially in the top 100k.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's too much of a risk, because I can imagine after Fulham's performance last week as well, I can imagine Mitrovic coming in and maybe scoring 2 goals and just being absolutely on fire. He's incredibly well rested, but then it could go the other way, that actually he's not really gelling with the team as well, and he needs a couple of weeks. There's not much left now, but he needs some time to get back into it. So that's another one that I've got in the back of my mind that I really want to go for, but I think I'm just a little bit too nervous.
Yeah, I think like I can totally see why it's so tempting, but I think I would prefer, if you're going to do kind of like a punty pick for the last couple of game weeks, I think that Enciso is a better option, just because it's like you don't know if they're going to come back with vengeance or if it's going to kind of take a bit. And I think over the next couple of weeks, Shaw probably outscores Dunk, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is the thing, and it sets me up nicely for next game week. I'm not having to take any hits on it. So I think this is probably the more sensible route, which I'll stick with.
And another massive question is captaincy, because obviously Holland has a single game week, but it's oh shit, I've opened up a new tag. But I think, what is it, like Everton away, I think?
Yeah.
I'm making that totally up. Hold on, I'm checking now.
We're definitely Everton.
Yeah, Everton away. I was right. Okay, cool. Everton away, but then you also have like the doublers. So do you go for a Newcastle? Do you go for a Callum Wilson or an Isak or a Brighton midfielder? Like, which way are you leaning towards your captaincy?
So at the moment, my captaincy is on Isak, but with all of them, I would love to go captaincy Matoma. But we've seen Matoma and McAllister have been rested recently, and they've got 2 double game weeks coming up. That is a lot. So I can imagine the Brighton assets definitely potentially being benched for some of the games, which worries me. And then Isak, I'm just so scared that he'll start both games, but he'll blank. Whereas we've seen what Haaland can do in a single game, and it's against Everton. And I think, imagine if this is Haaland once again, because he didn't do very well last week. Is he then going to come in absolutely? That was good timing. I might have just flown into the room. Is he going to come back just wanting to prove himself, get those goals in, get a hat trick, and then actually you're better off captaining a single game week player over the double, and it's so hard.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking like, oh, but is Holland going to start even because they play Real Madrid midweek? I would think yes, like I would be shocked if he did it. But is there a world where he comes off the bench? But if he comes off the bench, does he still net like 2 goals? So I literally have no idea what I'm going to do for a captaincy. I might go rogue and just do like Callum Wilson and go all in. But maybe that's too crazy and it would totally bite me in the
Callum
bum.
Wilson.
Yeah.
You do Callum Wilson and I'll captain and Sizzo.
Imagine if it pays off. Like that would be brilliant.
I know. This is the thing, and the problem with Haaland as well is what I get worried about is, say City go 3-0 up, so then Haaland comes off at half time and he's had no input because Gundogan or someone else has managed to score. I don't know. It's such a hard one to try and balance. But I do think we're so close to the end of the season. This is where we need to start having fun, taking punts. But I'm also like, well, next season's quite nearby, so I might start having my punts at the start of the season. Then if it goes terribly wrong, at least I've got the rest of the season to make up for it. I just don't want to absolutely ruin it now.
Yeah, that's how I kind of feel because I'm like, I've had like the worst season of my life and I'm on like the brink of breaking into the top million. Like, I'm so pissed. But I really want to try to finish in like that, at least top, 10%. Right now, I think I might at like 9-10%, but I really want to be like at least in the 100,000s, which isn't a good rank, guys. I know. Like I went too rogue at the beginning of the season and have not been able to make up for it. But I don't know. I'm feeling like it could pay off massively, but it could also just like bite me in the bum. But it's not like I'm in like the top 10K or 100K or anything like that. So I'm kind of like, oh, why not at this point?
I think this is the problem though. You played the game how you should play it, which is taking risks, having fun. Whereas there were so many template teams, and I've done it. I was doing really well at the start of the season. Then just before the break for the World Cup, I was doing terribly because I was trying to bring in these different players and have some fun. And then it just backfired on me. So then from January onwards, I was back to kind of much more template decisions. Whereas I think I'd like to think that next season I will take more like risky picks, but I just don't know if I will.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like this season, especially because this is like the 3rd year that I've been playing, like I've never played a season where it's been so much of a template team. Like there's always been like a lot of differences, but I feel like this season it was always like very, very minute differences between teams or decisions, like really big 50-50s. Like, do you go for March or Matoma? And then you have one that holds and one that doesn't. So I don't know.
Well, one of my friends is a very, very casual FPL player, and he's had his like triple Arsenal assets for weeks on end, barely makes any changes. And there are some game weeks, say this game week, everyone got around say 31 to 45 points in the community, whereas he was on like 55 or something ridiculous. And it's because he is just playing his own game, and sometimes it falls in his favor. And I think I'd like to have a balance where you do have your sensible options, your people, like obviously have Haaland as a pick. It's a no-brainer. Trippier, not so much now, but there are some really, really solid people that you can just keep in your team for basically the whole season. Whereas I do need to start thinking, just because Arsenal don't have any double game weeks coming up, still have the assets because they're good players. So it's trying to get that balance.
Totally. Yeah. And so let's see what decisions I really wish that I had Odegaard instead of Martinelli in my team, because at one point I had Martinelli and Odegaard, and then I sold Odegaard, and I was like, oh, this was a mistake.
It's always the wrong decision.
It always is. Yeah, I always had them like when Martinelli was like hauling, then I had like somebody else, I don't remember, and I was like, whatever. But I'm pretty certain with the changes I'm going to make now. So this has been super useful for me. I think I'm going to go McAllister and Wilson in. So thank you. And I hope that it was like as enlightening to everybody else watching this stream. So yeah, Yelena, let everybody know where they can find you.
On Twitter at Yelena FPL and TikTok as well. And we're planning, maybe, hopefully, we'll be going to the international games, won't we? So we can sort out an in-person TikTok, a little match day vlog, which will be fun.
That is super cute. I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna buy my tickets to New York. Yeah. We're like 99% there. I just need to like press buy. But I'm super excited for that. And it's gonna be Chelsea Brighton, which is kind of fitting given that we spent so much of the stream talking about Brighton assets. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that is useful for you. Which transfers are you thinking about making in your FPL teams? Let us know in the comments down below. If you have any questions, I'll be taking a look as well, so to try to give advice the best that I can. But of course, just have fun with it. It's the last 3 games of the season. Make sure to follow Yelena on socials. I'll have everything linked in the description box down below. And while you're at it, maybe give me a follow as well and sub to the channel if you like this content. So hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this. And until next time, we're out. Bye.
Bye.